So I think we're gonna go back down by the road. I'm gonna grab a bucket and tongs, and then I'll choose a plant down there and show you exactly what it is that we pick and how we pick them. So come on down. Mentaj, imuwaidan iwachot. Ha kamim minyuich. So one thing, it's always something you should do is give thanks. And different tribes, different individuals within tribes do that in their own way. So that's something we encourage our youth to do and everybody to do. And you know, I know there's, for all of them at least, there are Hanam songs. Follow whatever feels right to you, and at the very least, just a simple thank you or thought of appreciation. We harvest sustainably, so just pick a little bit from each plant, whatever it is, whatever plant, whatever you're getting. You know, yes, we could take everything here, but that's never a good thing. So you just get a certain percentage of whatever's there, move on to the next one, and that will make sure that everything stays healthy. What we have right here is up on top of those little red fringes I talked about. And here's one right here where it's just those little red fringes. It's not a flower yet, but that's going to be. Over here, you see these little buds that have these red kind of spear tips on them. Grab one of these, just give it a little twist. If it's ready to come off, then it should come off fairly easy. Grab it by the bottom, and that is just what we're looking for right there. And all it is a flower bud where the flower is still completely closed. It hasn't opened yet. Once it opens or starts to loosen up and open, it's too late. So it's not really edible. It doesn't taste good. But when you're gathering, you just, gather a bunch of them and you throw it in your bucket and keep gathering. And so they kind of take up a lot of room because they're succulent and because of thorns. So when you put them in a bucket, it might seem like, oh, I got a full bucket, but there's really not that much in there. Once you get a bunch of them, like I said, there's a lot of diversity with tribes and tribal members. And so there's even diversity about how to go about preparing and processing these things. And I would encourage you to experiment and see what works for you. So some people clean them and then cook them. Some people cook them and then clean them. If you're gonna clean them, one of the ways now is, just using a screen, and those little thorns just get stuck in there. So I guess if you just have a little bit, you can just use something like this. And I'm just showing you as a demonstration. I'm not gonna clean all of these, but if you have a bunch of them and all the thorns start to get caught in these screens and they snap off. Now, word of warning too, if you're doing it on this small scale, or sometimes we get the window screen from, like Home Depot, and you put it on a wooden frame so you have a big one, and you can have a stick like Joe's got right there, especially with a flat end right there, and just kind of swirl it around and it'll do the same thing. But don't stand downwind when you're doing that, because it's going to be all over you and it doesn't feel good. And make sure wherever you're doing it, you don't mind thorns going to be there. So don't do it in your yard if you're going to be walking there barefoot, because they're going to be everywhere. Some people will put like a tarp down, try to capture as much as they can, and then they can gather it all up and throw it in the garbage can. But it's probably best to do it away from where people are going to be walking, or dogs or cats or whatever. And if you haven't ever picked before, I would suggest do it on a small scale for one, because it's a lot more work to clean them than it is to pick them. Probably, if you're going to do it this way, wait till the next day. So after you pick it, 24 hours, and it starts to shrink a little bit, and I think it loosens up the thorns a little bit. So wait about a day, but probably no longer than that. Modern way too is to burn them off. So you can do it over open fire, but it's a little bit harder to control. They are going to get charred if you do it that way. Or you can just, with more modern too, they have those little torches. If you're just doing a small amount, you can just kind of control it more and burn the thorns off. The way most people do it today, because it's easier, is, so if you're going to do this at home, you can just, if you just had a few, you can just clean them off and then boil it for like 20 minutes or so. I guess it's blanching. I don't know too much about that kind of terminology, but you have to cook it before you dry it out and store it. You can't just dry it straight here. So you can boil it. It kind of has less flavor, so anything roasted tastes better, to me anyways, than something boiled, but it's okay still. So yeah, after you boil it, and then depends on how much you have, you want to slowly air dry them at that point. And so if you have it's enclosed, like screen like this, maybe there was 2 of these. I think this is half of one. But if you have something bigger, again, usually we use those 2x4 screens, and you just flip one over so it's fully enclosed. That way no rodents get in there, no insects get on there. And just leave them out in the sun and let them dry for about 4 days or so, and they start to shrivel up. But you have to keep an eye on them. Make sure there's no moisture that gets to them. Yeah, if they get moist, then they can start to rot. So once they're fully dried out, though, then you can basically just store them. I mean, you can. They should have some airflow, but you can store them for long periods of time. Once they're completely dried out, you can't put them in an airtight jar, though. And yeah, like I said, you can keep them for a year, and they're going to be a little shriveled up thing like raisins. And then when you want to eat them, you just have to boil them in water, because you reconstitute them so that water soaks it up. And you can just eat them as they are. Some people fry them. Some people will put them in salads or salsas today. That's pretty good. A lot of different ways to use them.